Hello. Tonight we will be reading some creepypasta. We will be reading creepypastas tonight. We're going to be reading Going House. Start right now. Part 1. Let me just start by saying that Terry was addicted to heroin. We were friends in college and continued to be after I graduated. Noticed that I said I dropped out after 2 years of barely cutting it after I moved out of that dorm and into a small apartment. I didn't see Peter that much. We would talk online every now and then. AIM was kink and free Facebook years. There was a period where he wasn't online for about 5 weeks straight. I wasn't worried. He was a pretty notorious lick and a drug addict, so I assumed that he just stopped caring. Then one night, I saw him logged on before I could initiate a conversation. He sent me a message. David, man, we need to talk. That was when he told me about the No-Win house. He got that name because no one had ever reached the final exit. The rules was pretty simple and cliche. Reach the final room of the building and you win $500. There were 9 rooms in all. The house was located outside the city, roughly 4 miles from my house. Apparently, Peter had tried and failed. He was a heroin and who knows what the fuck addict. But I figured the drug got the best of him and he fledged out of the paper ghost or something. He told me it would be too much for anyone. That was unnatural. I didn't believe him. I told him I would check it out next night, and no matter how hard he tried to convince me otherwise, like $500 sounded too good to be true. I had to go. I set out. I had to go. I set out the following night. When I arrived, I immediately noticed something strange about the building. Have you ever seen or read something that shouldn't be scary, but for some reason a chill crawls to your spine? I walked towards the building and the feeling of uneasiness only intensified as I opened the front door. My heart slowed and I let a relief sigh release as I entered. The room looked like a normal hotel lobby decorated for Halloween. A sign was posted in the place of a worker. It read, "Room 1, this way." 8 more followed. Reached the end and you win. I chuckled and made my way to the first floor. The first area was almost laughable. The decor resembled a Halloween easel of a cave marked complete with sheep ghosts and animatronic zombies that gave a static growl when we passed by. At the far end was the exit. It was the only door aside that when I entered. I brushed through the fake spiderwebs and headed for the second room. I was greeted by fog as I opened the door to the next room. The room definitely opened the ante in terms of technology. Not only there was a fog machine, but a bat hung from the ceiling, flew in circles. Scary than it might seem to have a Halloween soundtrack that one would have found in 99 cents store moved somewhere in the room. I didn't see a stereo, but I guess they must have been used a PA system. I stepped over a few toys that wheeled around and walked with a puffed chest across the next area. I reached for the doorknob and my heart sank to my knees. I did not want to open that door. A feeling of dread hit me so hard I could barely even think. Logic overtook me after a few terrifying moments, and I shook it off and entered the next room. Room 3 is when things began to change. On the surface, it looked like a normal room. There was a chair in the middle of the wood-paneled room. A single lamp in the corner did a poor job of lighting the area, casting few shadows across the floor and walls. There was a problem. Shadows, plural. There was an exception to the chairs. There were others. I had barely walked into the room, and I was already terrified. It was at the moment that I knew something wasn't right. I didn't even think as I automatically tried to open the door. I came through. It was locked from the other side. That sent me off. Was something locking the door as I progressed? There was no way I would have heard them. Was it a mechanical lock that was set automatically? Maybe, but I was too scared to really think. I turned back to the door, and the shadows were gone. The chair's shadows remained, but the others were gone. I slowly began to walk. I used to hallucinate when I was a kid, so I wrote off the shadows as a fragment of my imagination. I began to feel better as I made it to the halfway point of the room. I looked down as I took my steps, and that's when I saw it. Hard. I didn't see it. My shadows wasn't there. I didn't have time to scream. I ran as fast as I could through the other door and blanked myself without looking into the room beyond. Fourth one was possibly the most disturbing. As I closed the door, all lights seemed to be sucked out and put back into the previous room. I stood there, surrounded by darkness, not able to move. I'm not afraid of the dark, it never had, but I was absolutely terrified. All sights had left. I held my hands in front of my face, and if I didn't know what I was doing, I would never have been able to tell. Darkness doesn't describe. I couldn't hear anything. It was dead silence. When you're in a soundproof room, you can still hear yourself breathing. You can hear yourself being alive. I couldn't. I began to stumble forward after a few moments of my rapid beating heart. The only thing I could feel, there was no door in sight. Wasn't even sure there was one this time. Silence was then broken by a low hum. I felt something could barely even see my nose. I knew it was there, though regardless of how dark it was. I knew something was there. The hum grew ever louder, closer. It seemed to surround me, but I knew somewhere was causing the noise was in front of me. It came closer. I took a step back. I had never felt that kind of fear. I can't really describe true fear. I wasn't even scared. I was going to die. I was scared of what the alternative was. I was afraid of what this thing had in store for me. Then the lights flashed for a second, and I saw it. Nothing. I saw nothing. And now I know I saw nothing there. The room had again plunged into darkness, and the hum became a wild screech. I screamed in protest. I couldn't hear this goddamn sound for another minute. I ran backwards, always from the noise, and plunged from the door handle. I turned and fell into the room 5. Before I describe room 5, I had to understand something. I'm not a big drug addict. I had no history of drug abuse or any sorts of psychosis short of childhood hallucinations I mentioned earlier. Those were only when I was really tired or just waking up. I entered the no-one house with a clear head. After falling in from the previous room, my view of the room 5 was from my back, looking from up at the ceiling. What I saw didn't scare me, it simply surprised me. The tree had grown into the room and towards above my head. The ceiling in the room were taller than the others, which made me think I was in the center of the room. I got up off of the floor, dusted myself off, and took a look around. It was definitely the biggest room of them all. I couldn't even see the door from where I was. Various bushes and trees must have been blocked my line of sight for the exit. Up to this point, I figured the rooms were going to get scarier, but this is a paradise compared to the last room. I also assumed whatever was in the room or stayed back there. I was incredibly wrong. As I made my way deeper into the room, I began to hear what I would hear if they were in the forest, tripping bugs, and the occasional flapping of birds. Seemed to be in my only company in this room. That was the only thing that bothered me the most. I heard the bugs and the other animals, but I didn't see any of them. I began to wonder how big the house was from the outside. When I first walked up to it, it looked like a regular house. It was definitely one of the bigger sides, but this was almost a full forest in here. It can't be covered by a view of the ceiling, but I assumed it was still there. However high it was, I couldn't see any of the walls either. The only way I knew I was still inside of the floor matched the other rooms. The standard dark wood paneling. I kept walking, hopping to the next tree I passed would reveal the door. After a few moments of walking, I felt a mosquito fly into my arm. I shook it off and kept going. A second later, I felt about 10 more man into my skin at different places. I felt them crawling up and down into my arms and legs, and a few made their way across my face. I felt wildly to get them off, but they just kept crawling. I looked down and let them out a muffled scream. More of a whimper, to be honest. I didn't see a single bug. Not one bug was on me, but I could feel them crawl. I heard them lie by my face and sting my skin, but I couldn't see a single one. I dropped to the ground and began to roll wildly. I was desperate. I hated bugs, especially ones I couldn't see or touch, but those bugs touched me and they were everywhere. I began to crawl. I had no idea where I was going. The entrance was nowhere in sight, and I still hadn't even seen the exit. So I just crawled, my skin wiggling with the presence of those phantom bugs. After what seems like hours, I found the door. I grabbed the nearest tree and propped myself up mindlessly, flapping my arms and legs to no avail. I tried to run, but I couldn't. My body was exhausted from crawling and dealing with whatever it was that was on me. I took a few shaky steps to the door, grabbing each tree on the way for support. It was a few feet away when I heard it, the low hum from before. It was coming from the next room. It was deeper. I could almost feel it inside my body, like when you stand next to an amp at a concert. The feeling of the bugs on me lessened as the humming grew louder. As I placed my hands on the doorknob, the bugs were completely gone, but I couldn't bring myself to turn the knob. I knew that if I go, the bugs would return, and there were no way I would make it back to room 4. I just stood there, my head pressed against the door marked 6, my hand shakily grasped the knob. The hum was so loud I couldn't even hear myself pretend to think. There was nothing I could do but move on. Room 6 was next, and room 6 was hell. I closed the door behind me, and my eyes were shut. The ears was ringing. The hum was surrounding me, and the door clicked into the place. The hum was gone. I opened my eyes, and the surprise of the door I had shut was gone. It was just a wall now. I looked around in shock. The room was identical to the room 3. The same chair, a lamp, but with the correct amount of shadows this place. The only real difference was there was no exit door, and the one I came in through was gone. As I said before, I have no previous issues in terms of mental instability, but at that moment I fell into whatever now know was insanity. I don't breathe. I didn't make a sound. At first I scratched softly. The sound was tough, but I knew the door was there somewhere. I just knew it was. I scooched out where the doorknob was. I clawed out the wall frantically with both hands. My nose was well down into the skin against the wood. I fell instantly to my knees, and the only sound in the room was instant crashing against the wall. I knew it was there. The door was there. I knew it was just there. I knew if I could just get past this wall. Are you alright? I jumped off the ground and spun in one motion. While there, I leaned against the wall behind me, and I saw what was that spoke to me. To say, I regret ever turning around. There was a little girl. She was wearing a soft white dress that went down to her ankles. She had long blonde hair to the middle of her back and white skin, blue eyes. She was the most frightening thing I ever seen, and I know that nothing in my life will ever be as unnerving as what I just saw in her. While looking at her, I just saw something else where she stood. I saw what looked like a man's body, only large and covered in hair. He was naked from head to toe, but his head was not human, and his toes were hooves. It wasn't a devil, but at the moment, it might as well have been a form at the head of a ram and the snout of a wolf. It was horrifying, and it was horrifying, and it was anonymous, but the little girl in front of me. They were the same form. I can't really describe it. but I saw them in the same time. They shared the same spot in that room, but it was like looking at the two separate dimensions. When I saw the girl, I saw the form, but when I saw the form, I saw the girl. I couldn't speak. I could barely even see. My mind was unrevolting against what I was attempting to process. I had never been more scared than when I was trapped in the fourth room. But that was before room 6. I just stood there, staring out whatever was that spoke to me. There was no exit. I was trapped here. Witness spoke again. David, you should have listened. Witness spoke. I heard the words of the little girl. The other form spoke through my mind. The voice. I don't know how to describe it. There was no other sound. The voice just kept repeating the sentence over and over in my head, and I agreed. I didn't know what to do. I was slipping into madness, yet couldn't take my ears off what was in front of me. I dropped to the floor. I thought I had passed out, but the room wouldn't let. I just wanted it to end. I was in my side, my eyes wide open, and the form staring down at me. Staring across the room in front of me was one of the most battery-powered rat. Battery-powered rat from the second room. The house was toying with me, but for some reason, seeing that rat pulled my mind back from whatever steps it was heading. I looked around. I was getting out of there. I was determined to get out of that house and live, never to think about this place again. I knew this room was hell, and I wasn't ready to take up residency at first. It was just that my eyes just moved. I searched the walls for any kinds of openings. The rooms wasn't that big, so I didn't take that long to soak up the entire layout. The beginning still taunted me. The voice still groaned louder as the form stayed rooted where it stood. I placed my hands on the floor, lifted myself up to the all fours and turned to scan the walls behind me. But then I saw something I couldn't believe. The form was now right at my back, whispering into my mind how I shouldn't have come. I felt it breathing down my back of my neck, but I refused to turn around. A large rectangle was stretching into the woods, but the small dent chipped away into the center of it. Right in front of my eyes, I saw a large 7. I mindlessly etched into the wall. I knew what it was. Room 7 was just beyond that wall where the room 5 was moments ago. I don't know how I had done it. Maybe it was just my state of mind at the time, but I had created the door I knew I had. In my madness, I had scratched into the wall. What I had needed the most an exit into the room. Room 7 was close. I knew the demon was right behind me, but for some reason, it couldn't touch me. I closed my eyes and placed both hands on the large 7 in front of me. I pushed I pushed as hard as I could. The demon was now scratching in front of my ears. It told me I was never leaving. It told me that it was the knowing, it was the end, but I wasn't going to die. I wasn't going to die. I was going to live. There was room 6. I wasn't. I pushed and screamed at the top of my lungs. I knew I was going to push through the wall eventually. I clenched my eyes shut and screamed, and the demon was gone. I was left in silence. I turned around slowly and was greeted by the room. It was when I entered just a chair in the lamp. I can't believe it, but I didn't have a time to well. I learned back to the 7 and jumped back slightly. What I saw was a door. It wasn't the one I had scratched in, but a regular door with a large 7 on it. My whole body was shaking. It took me a while to turn the knob. I stood there for a while, staring at the door. I couldn't stay in the room. I couldn't. But this was the only room that I couldn't imagine what's room 7 had in store. I must have stood there for an hour just staring at the 7. Finally, with a deep breath, I twisted the door. I twisted the knob and opened the door to room 7. I stumbled through the door, mentally exhausted, physically weak. The door behind me closed, and I recognized where I was. I was outside. No, not outside like room 5, but actually outside. My eyes stunk. I wanted to cry. I felt like my knees. I fell to my knees and tried, but I couldn't. I was finally out of that hell. I didn't even care about the prize that was promised. I turned and saw the door. I just went through what was the entrance. I walked to the car and drove home thinking to have a nice shower. Thinking how a nice shower sounded. As I pulled up to the house, I felt uneasy. The joy of leaving the land house had faded, and the dread was slowly building in my stomach. I shook it off as residue from the house and made my way to the front door. I entered and immediately went up to my room. There on my bed was my cat, Baskerville. It was the first living thing that I have seen all night, and I reached up to pet him. He hissed, hissed, and swiped at my hand. I recoiled, as shocked as he had never acted like that before, like that. I thought, whatever, he's just an old cat. I jumped in the shower and got ready for what I was expecting to be a sleepless night. After my shower, I went to the kitchen to make something to eat. I descended to the stairs and turned into the family room. What I saw would be forever burned into my mind. However, my parents were lying. Whoever my parents were lying on the ground, naked, covered in blood. They were mutilated to near unidentifiable state. Their limbs were removed and placed next to their bodies, and their heads were placed to their chests, facing me. The most unsettling part was their expressions. They were smiling, as though they were happy to see me. I vomited and sobbed in in the family room. I didn't know what had happened. They didn't even live with me at the time. So was I was a mess. Then I saw it. A door that was never there before. A door with a large A scrawled on on it in blood. I was still in the house. I was standing in my family room, but I was in room 7. The faces of my parents smiled wider as I realized this. They weren't my parents. They couldn't be, but they looked exactly like them. Door marked A was across the room, behind the mutilated bodies in front of me. I knew I had to move them on to die, but at that moment I gave up. The smiling faces tore into my mind. They grounded me where I stood. I vomited again and nearly collapsed. Then the hum returned. It was louder than ever. And then filled the house and shook the walls. The hum compelled me to walk. I began to walk slowly, making my way closer to the door and the bodies. I could barely stand. The closer I got to my parents, the closer I came to suicide. The walls were now shaking so hard it seemed as though they were going to crumble, but still, the faces smiled at me. As I edged closer, their eyes followed me. I was now between the two bodies, a few feet away from the doors. The dismembered hands clawed their way across the carpet towards me. All the while, the faces continued to stare. A new terror washed over me, and I walked faster. I didn't want to hear them speak. I didn't want the voices to match those of my parents. They began to open their mouths, and the hands were inches from my feet. In a dash of desperation, I lunged towards the door, threw it open, and slammed it behind me. Room 9. No, it's room 8. Hey, what's up, alien man? We're doing some more creepypastas. Tonight, we are reading No In-House. I still have trouble believing what I saw in room 8. Again, the room was a carbon copy of rooms 3 and 7, but still in the usual empty chair was a man. After a few seconds of disbelief, my mind finally accepted the fact that the man sitting in the chair was me, not someone who looked like me. It was David Williams. I walked closer. I had to get a better look, even though I was sure of it. He looked at me, and I noticed tears in his eyes. Please, don't do it. Please, don't hurt me. What? I asked. Who are you? I'm not going to hurt you. Yes, you are. He was sobbing now. You're going to hurt me. You're going to hurt me. I don't want you to. He sat there in a chair with his legs up and began rocking back and forth. It was actually pretty pathetic looking, especially since it was me, identical in every way. Listen, who are you? I was now only a few feet away from my doppelganger. Yep, it was the weirdest experience yet, standing there talking to myself. I wasn't scared, but I would be thinking, why are you? You're going to hurt me. You're going to hurt me. You're going to hurt me. If you want to leave, you're going to hurt me. Why do you say that? Why did you say this? Just calm down, alright? Let's try and figure this. And then I'll say it. David, sitting down, was wearing the same clothes as me, except for a small red patch on his shirt. And braided. Rolled, braided with the number 9. You're going to hurt me. You're going to hurt me. Please don't. You're going to hurt me. My eyes didn't leave that small number on his chest. I knew exactly what it was. The first few doors was plain and simple, but after a while, it got a little more. 7 was etched into the wall, but by my own hands. 8 was marked in blood above the body of my parents. But 9, this number was on a person, a living person. Worse still, it was on a person that looked exactly like me. David, I had to ask. Yes, you're gonna hurt me. You're gonna hurt me. He continued to sob and rock. He answered to David. It was me. It was me right now. Right down to the voice. By that 9, I paced around for a minute while he sobbed at the chair. Your room had no door, and similarly to room 6, the door I came through was gone. For some reason, I assumed that scratching would get me nowhere. This time I studied the walls, the floor around, chairs, sticking my head underneath, and seeing if anything was below. Unfortunately, there was. Below the chair was a knife attached. There was a tag that reads, "To David," from management. The feeling in my stomach as I read the tag was something sinister. I wanted to throw up, and the last thing I wanted to do was remove the knife from under the chair. The other David was still sobbing uncontrollably. My mind was spinning around into the attic of unanswerable questions. But who put this here, and how did they get my name? Not to mention the fact that as I knocked on the cold wood floor, I also sat on the chair, sobbing in process of being hurt by myself. It was all too much to process. The house and the management had been playing with me this whole time. My thoughts for some reason turned to Peter and whether or not he got this far. If he did, he met a Peter Terry bobbing in the stair chair, rocking back and forth. I shot those thoughts out of my head. They didn't matter. I took the knife from under the chair and immediately the other David went quiet. David, he said in my voice, what are you going to do with that? I lifted myself from the ground, clenched the knife in my hand. I'm going to get out of here. David is still sitting in the chair, though he was very calm. He looked up at me with a slight grin. I couldn't tell if he was going to laugh or strangle me. Slowly, he got up in front of the chair and stood facing me. It was uncanny. His height and even the way he stood matches mine. I felt the rubber hit hold of my hands and I grabbed it tighter. I didn't know what I was planning on doing with it, but I had a feeling I was going to need it. Now his voice was slightly deeper than my own. I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to hurt you, and I'm going to keep you here. I didn't respond. I just lunged and tackled him to the ground, and I had mounted him and looked down, and knife poised and ready. He looked at me, terrified. It was like I was looking in a mirror. Then the hum returned, low and distance, though I still felt better deep into my body. David looked up at me as I looked down at myself. The hum was getting louder, and I felt something inside me snap. With one motion, I slammed the knife into the patch on his chest and ripped down. Bloodness fell into the room, and I was falling. The darkness around me was like nothing I have ever experienced in this quaint room. Room 4 was darkness, but I didn't even come close to. Oh, music's too loud. What's up, Wilson? Darkness around me was like nothing I had experienced up to this point. Room 4 was darkness, but it didn't come close to what was completely engulfing me. I didn't even sure if I was falling after a while. I felt weightless, covered in dark. Then a deep sadness came over me. I felt lost, depressed, and suicidal. A sight of my parents entered my mind. I knew it wasn't real, but I had seen it, and the mind was terrible. Differentiating between what it was real and what isn't. The sadness only deepened. I was in room 9, for what seemed like days to find a room and was exactly what it was. The no-end house had an end, and I had reached it. At the moment I gave up, I knew I would be in that in-between state forever, accompanied by nothing but darkness. Not only the hum was there to keep me sane, keep me, not only even the hum was there to keep me sane. I have lost all I have lost all senses. I couldn't even feel myself. I couldn't hear anything. Sight was completely useless here. I searched for a taste in my mouth, and found nothing. I felt disembodied, completely lost. I knew where I was. This is hell. Room 9 was hell. And then it happened. A light, one of those stereotypical light at the end of the tunnels. I felt ground. I felt ground come up from below, and I suddenly came after a moment or two of gathering my thought and senses. I slowly walked towards the light. As I approached the light, it took form. There was a vertical slit down the side of a marked door. I slowly walked through the door and found myself back where I started, the lobby of no in-house. That was exactly how I felt, how I left it, still empty, still decorated with childish Halloween decorations. After everything that happened that night, I was still worried of where I was. After a few moments of formlessly, formlessly, I, I looked around the place trying to find anything different. On the desk was a plain white envelope with my name handwritten on it. Immensely curious, yet still cautious, I mustered up the courage to open the envelope. Inside was a letter again, handwritten. David Rollins, congratulations! You have made it to the end of Nolan House. Please accept this prize as a token of a great achievement. Yours forever, Management. Was this letter? Was the letter for five $100 bills? I couldn't stop laughing. I laughed for what seemed like an hour. I laughed as I walked out to the car, and laughed as I drove home. I laughed as I pulled into my driveway. I laughed as I opened my front door to my house, and I laughed as I saw a small tin etched into the wood. Alright, we're gonna be reading part 2 of Nolan House. It had been 3 weeks since I heard any any word from David in the 6 months since we started dating. We had only gone 3 days without talking, and that was after a pretty intense fight. There was nothing out of the ordinary. When I had talked to him last, he was just mentioning that he was going out to checking something out. A friend told him about them. I got a really weird text the night before. It was from David, but it wasn't from his number. It only had 5 words in it. No, no one don't come, David. Something was wrong after I read that text. I felt nauseous after I was seeing something I shouldn't. I decided to get a hold of Peter, but I had I talked to this ass before, but I was deadbeat. But at least he might have some information on where David might be. I decided to log into AIM with David's account. I figured it might be easier to start something with Peter if he didn't know it was me. When I logged on, he immediately messaged me, David, holy shit, you had me worried. I thought you went to the Nolan house. What do you mean? Nolan house, man. The place I told you about. I could have sworn you were going to go. No one else this time knew what's going on. Yeah, I actually couldn't find it. Maybe I'll try again tomorrow. Where was it again? No way, you already had me worried. Fuck that place. You've been there. You do not want to go there. Peter, this is Maggie. Wait, where is David? I don't know. I thought you would know, but apparently not. Holy shit. Oh shit. What, seriously, Peter? You need to tell me what's going on. I think he went to the house. It's outside the town, maybe 4 miles down there the street. Unmarked road, turned right. Shit, man, he's gone. No, I don't think he is. What are you planning on doing? I'm going to get him back. I left the next night at around 8. There wasn't a single car the entire trip, and as I turned into the unmarked street, I saw a sign pointing down the road, knowing this way. Open 24 hours. Hey, guys, I think we're gonna finish the story off in the next stream. So I'm gonna see you guys later. Yeah, it's getting very late. Thank you guys for watching.